Hello, everyone. This is Madiha Ahmed here, and I am with Mr. Gladson Peter. Hi, Gladson.
Hey Madiha, what's up?
How are you doing? I'm good.
Very good indeed.
So good to see you after the TEDx BSc in some meet form, but e-meet here, and that was in physical form.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same
It's an
here.
honor. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, Gladson, I was so impressed when I saw you kind of, having so many instruments in your hand during the TEDx itself, and how you kind of brought in, the whole concept of multiple intelligence in a very different format on the stage. And I, as an educator, was wondering again and again, how does a person kind of, train their brain to function like that? Second, I was so amazed by the concept of faith that you have as a young person, in your story and in your life. So maybe if you could tell us, a little bit about your, past journey, how you got into the one man band, and then, I mean, how did all that start? So yeah, please tell
Okay.
us.
So I'll try to keep it as compact as possible.
Okay.
So nobody gets bored.
Okay.
So I started playing music when I was about 3 to 4 years old, and I started off with a toy keyboard. I was gifted a toy keyboard, and my first teacher for that was my dad. He plays the guitar and the keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
and he taught me happy birthday. But I was more interested in taking spoons and forks in my kitchen, play them all around, annoy everybody. I thought I was the greatest rock star. I was very young, very
Yeah.
ambitious, very I thought everything was cool. But as I kept growing older, I got introduced to instruments like bongo, congo, all these things when I was at my church choir. And um, and uh, as I kept growing older, I also started picking up instruments like the flute, guitar, keyboard, drums, harmonica, and the list just kept going on. Okay, but when I was in college, that is when my life entirely changed. So I'm cutting through directly to college, and we will come back to another portion in my life which happened a little uh, before college. So in my college, I had very good friends, very good friends. They were always around me, always with me. But unfortunately, at least in Mumbai, it's like it's in Tamil. They say that you tie a cow and keep, right. Like you tie an animal. It's like you let the animal loose when you're out of 10 because it's college and nobody has any control. You just go do all the things in the world. Everything seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably how my friends would have gotten into smoking, a lot of drinking and stuff like that. Now uh, being around them, I got affected because of their smoke and everything. It was very passive. I wanted to chill, hang out with them, but that kind of affected me. So I used to come back, vomit. I wouldn't be able to sit nor breathe. Six to
Mm-hmm.
7 seconds, just one breath. If I have to sit for like half an hour, I have to lay down my back for 4 hours. Uh, there was absolutely nothing in my stomach. Okay, and somehow I'm always scared of doctors, even now. But my mother, she uh, tricked me and she took me to the doctor. And when we went to the doctor, we figured that I have an illness called as pleural effusion.
Okay.
So the doctor's one question to me was, "Are you a heavy drunkard and a smoker?" And I was like, "Where is this coming from?" I may seem very happy when I'm talking right now, but
Yeah.
when someone asks you this, especially when it's a tragic situation
Mm-hmm.
where you're not really able to even breathe, you are very consciously taking efforts to take every single breath. Um, at that point of time, I was like, "Oh, where did this come from?" And then when we looked up the history, it dated back to all that smoke coming in, my low immunity. I also worked in a call center, and my call center experience was just horrible. Every break is only called as a smoke break. I'm standing there with my dal chawal, but the person also has dal chawal beside me, but they also have a cigarette, and that's kind of coming into your face. Kind of affected me a lot. Um, but when I was kind of getting out of hospital, the doctors clearly told me that Gladson, now you've lost like 60% of your lungs. You have 40%, and you may have to stay at home, take a lot of breathing exercises, get healed, and probably just do something like work from home, and you won't even able to be playing a simple flute. That is what kind of changed everything for me. I was like, how did you say I cannot even play a simple flute? So my question to God was, I've always been nice. I've always, kept my values and stuff. But why did this happen? And that is when, that's when, you know, uh, things started to shuffle. And I was like, I don't want to stay home. I want to do something more. I want to do better in life than just staying home, work from home. So I got back to college. I completed it. And 2015, December, I would say it's like a Christmas gift when I see it. Somewhere in December, I woke up with a dream where God spoke to me and He reminded me of something which happened during my school days. Okay, in my school days, so I'm taking you back to my school from like
Absolutely.
8th to ninth standard. I had gone for a children's camp,
Okay.
and the preacher ahead, he
Mm-hmm.
asked all the 200, 300 children to draw the picture of a person that you want to be like. And I never had I hadn't watched movies and all that kind of stuff. I was always a cartoon kind of guy. But I knew by then that I wanted to play a lot of instruments for sure. I did not say together, but a lot of instruments.
Right.
And and there's a picture I drew
Mm-hmm.
of a man,
Okay.
uh, and just I just imagined that maybe I want to be like that man, that imaginary man, but he can play a lot of musical instruments. So
Wow.
I just drew the picture of that man,
Mm-hmm.
and because there was a lot of space, I drew all the instruments like drums, keyboard, guitar, flute, harmonica, whatever
Absolutely.
came to my mind, I just drew it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So 2015 end,
Mm-hmm.
when I woke up with that dream, that is the picture that God showed me. And uh, the crazy part about that was like I heard God distinctly tell me, Gladson, how about you take all these musical instruments and put them together and play? I was like, wow, what a crazy idea. I don't think it's possible. Uh, but I shared it with my family and we started going about it. And what actually took off was obviously with a bad health condition,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of impossible to do, because where is being just able to barely breathe versus living a regular normal life or doing extreme things.
Mm-hmm.
um, so it was just the conviction and the purpose of uh, that very thing. It was so strong, the conviction was so strong, and I knew that it wasn't just a dream, it was God telling me this is what you have to do. And that's how the entire one man band thing came. And since 2016 February, I've been doing this. And I can't tell you, I will not tell you I'm lucky. I won't tell you I'm just blessed. But I think the entire journey is very miraculous. Every single day is ups and downs, and you get to learn so many new things. And the best part is that it's a test of faith, and
Absolutely.
that kind of helps your faith to just grow more and more. And that's when you realize that um, you know you are nothing without God. He's a creator, and everything you think might be so small, but like his plans are way higher than yours. And I've seen that personally in my life, because all I wanted to be was just a drummer, a musician, a cool pastor. Now, as a one man band, I get to be a drummer, a guitarist, a pianist, a singer, everything I imagine. I wanted to, yeah, be like my dad, like a pastor who can preach, who can go and help people, pray for people. I get to do that as a one man band. I've wanted to be really cool on the bike. I have a bike. I get to do all of the things that I wanted to do, all in one.
Wow,
So,
that's
yeah.
such a cool story and really cool in the real sense. So, I am so like curious to know and learn from you, Gladson, that you said that faith has played an important role in your life. And while I have conversed with youngsters at colleges, engineering colleges, technical colleges, or the humanities side very less, I've interacted, so I'm not very sure of how that philosophy works. But yes, the intellectual kind of students who I've dealt with, these are mostly students who I felt have taken a great sense of pride in being atheists or kind of rejecting God. And then when I've seen, it's not about which religion, it's about that whole idea of, I don't want to be under someone, I am too independent. And then I've seen, when it works with adults or with children or with teenagers, when they have this attitude towards a superpower which is greater than theirs,
Mhm.
and then that kind of extends into their, attitude with men. So if these are all empowered women who think they don't need anybody, whether it's a man who thinks I'm alone and good enough, or it's a child who feels, I don't want to be under my parents, I can take my own decisions, or at the end of the day, citizens rejecting government and whatever government says and does. So, and same thing, even with students at educational organizations which go and rebel against the
Yeah.
the very any form of authority. So what do you think, because you've seen that phase also of other people going through, but you've kind of maintained your faith. One thing could be it's your father was a pastor who kind of, brought in that faith at home into things. But the other thing is to be a modern youth and also to maintain that in your own life and to see miracles as a result of it.
Yeah.
So what is your idea of people, like, wanting to reject authority in all forms, and therefore, even rejecting God? So do you think it's because people reject God that they reject other authorities, or is it vice versa? How do you think it works?
You know, I think they're kind of my favorite kind of people, honestly.
Okay.
Um, I also say one thing, that having no faith is more challenging than having faith. Think about it
Okay.
this way,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I I may be wrong in how I put it, but try to understand me
Okay, I'll try my
in a
best.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we say we believe in something, we have a fear of an authority over us, okay?
Mm.
Uh, Whereas if you clearly speak to someone who's an agnostic or an atheist, they will directly question you saying, oh, you need a higher authority to do good works. No, for me it is like, my mind is conscious enough to understand that um, this is wrong, this is right. Okay, now here comes the part where um, people start being a little rebellious against why we have faith, and
Mm.
why they consider uh, that you don't need faith, like there is no higher authority.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I would definitely say that um, once someone experiences
Mm.
that experience of a miracle, that experiences the experience of the fullness of
Okay.
having your entire, it's not at all human, it's very how do you put it, um, it's very surreal, it's very out of the world, you know. Well, one of the definitions I have for faith is, if I'm able to think about something,
Mm-hmm.
if I think it's very practical and this is something I can do, that is a place I cannot I cannot experience faith. I can experience
Mm.
faith if it is completely impractical, if it is completely out of my zone, you know. it
Mm-hmm.
it reminds me, comes back to that picture of, like when you said, earlier, before when we started this conversation, we had this thing where uh, although they are atheists, when they're sick on deathbed, they come back saying like, hey, no, there is something, please save me, right? It's like that cliff. It's like you're actually at the end of the cliff, and then uh, when you jump, it's like you either die or God takes care from there. Actually, you don't know what's going to happen after that cliff, right?
Correct.
You have no idea,
Right.
right?
Right.
Suppose even if you have a parachute, okay, you're like, oh, I've spent so much money, I've got the best parachute in the world. What if the parachute fails? Then what will you do? Over there, whoever you believe in, right, you are going to shout that name. Though no one can say they will not. We are
Absolutely.
all human, and
Mm.
we have to understand that that is probably when people will understand faith. So I've never been a person who has put my faith, I've not pushed it down to someone. But if I feel like sharing my joy, I genuinely do it because I want that person also to experience that
That
fullness. That,
joy. Yes.
yes, that is exactly my
Right.
part of the entire thing. Is I give it to them, and from there, my the way I water my seed is just pray for them and just hope that someday they will experience it. uh,
Right.
because our part of the entire ordeal is that you share, you sow the seed. Rest is up to God. Even we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
And
It's completely
faith
up to God.
again, as you said, like, faith is like what we were discussing again, that a lot of times, people who I'm talking not of people who are atheist as atheists or I
Yeah,
mean, not that anti belief. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking of people who do it, and this is like a majority which is growing. They do it because it looks cool and it's a cool thing to say, just like we say
yeah,
social impact, innovation, empowerment. Same way, it's become a hashtag which people kind of like to talk about. But
yeah,
again, as we know that, the person who's saying all this against a bigger authority knows deep inside कि कल अगर मेरे को कुछ होगा तो it is going to be God I'm going to go to, because उसके अलावा
very
कुछ
sure,
नहीं है. कल जाके
very sure.
पूजा करना पड़ेगा, कल जाके एक मतलब सर्विस होगा या प्रेयर होगा, कुछ भी होगा, everybody knows that is going to be the refuge. So
Absolutely.
do you think so? I'm going from here to the next point, that when you speak of miracles, and when you said something very powerful, that you said that impractical and almost impossible situation comes, that is when faith comes in. So
Yeah,
that's in when it comes to dreams, like goals. And I mean, today people are mostly talking about goal as in, I have to make this startup work, rather than
yeah.
talking of fulfilling my purpose in life. May not the startup may not work. So when it comes to that, Gladson, what do you think, like how does a person make their goals? Do they make it? So there are two extremes that youngsters are told about, or they could be, they have to be digested in different form. But tell me,
True.
what do you think?
Mhm.
One extreme is where people tell them, break down your goals into smaller chunks and do it, go for easy start, have big dreams. But then there is this faith side of a person, of a leader like you, who would say that, what, have impossible dreams, go for it with faith in God, and go and achieve it, and it will come true. So where do you strike a balance, and what is your suggestion to the young people out there?
I completely go with people also who are very practical,
Mm-hmm.
but I would just, you know, I'm completely friends with them, with people who
Absolutely.
have, right.
Yes.
But I would just like to let them know that it is supremely adventurous. It is way out of the box when you let God come and do that very same thing. Like, you can do something, but you, all you have to do is just let your faith take over, let God take over that part. You will see the same things, maybe just 10 times way better than what you would have thought. So
Or
I
you would
would
have
like
done.
to, yeah, like for example, like I again said in my story, I just wanted to be a drummer. I leave it at that.
One
I
man
have,
band after that.
yeah, yeah. So it's something which even I go crazy about. I'm like, कभी सोचा होगा क्या? नहीं. I've
No.
None of us have had that experience. Even for me, it was very new when I got the idea. Uh, it would be different if probably, I would have traveled to so many countries with my family, seen a person do that, and then be like, oh, that looks cool. Let me try that. It'd be different. But
Absolutely.
what is adventurous? The adventurous part is you have zero knowledge about this, zero, and it comes to you. It's just that, see, like when they say you're being practical about your work, or having faith in your work, or being, let God do the work. I would say, let's put my work in music, my passion as work. All right. So I kept working on my passion. I kept working on it. It's not like I never gave up on music. I kept working on it. I always wanted to be better, 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 better. But somewhere down the line, uh, apart from my efforts of practicing everything, I just said, God, how about you come in? And when God came in, that entire thing just got amplified. So
Absolutely.
I will never stutter in my life to say that if God comes in, it will not amplify. It will definitely amplify, and that is without a say. It's not just because I have only experienced it, but people who I look up to, they have seen it, and I have friends who probably didn't even do as much as I did back then, but the way they have risen up is way beyond that even I can imagine. So I've seen them go from here to here. I'm still growing, and that is exactly where I say being practical is very good, very nice, but never say no to the higher authority. Let that higher authority come in, and that will be just magical.
So this is when we are talking of God, which is an unseen and unfelt, in that sense of knowing, but then having that inner thing of like wanting to know that, okay, this is there and this is supposed to happen. Let's talk about the authority which is visible, because a lot of times we see, when these youngsters rebel against their parents especially, and let's say rebel against their authority of school management or college management, and it's
Hmm.
more out of sometimes again wanting to look cool or to have their rights when they don't do their duties. So all
Yeah,
of that comes in. So
yeah.
what do you think, there is a connection between the two, like how a person deals with personal space with God as compared to when they deal with people in life, like how that relationship affects this, or is it like two separate things?
We always refer to this. It just doesn't matter in any religion at all. But I would say, they all you always consider your parents as right next to God.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe it is unfortunate. Maybe everybody may not have that same experience, but uh, but I don't wish any bad or wrong for them, and I wish for the better for them. But when you have your parents, okay, I don't think you should go against that, and they definitely have a big role, because it's like they also look up to God, and they are learning every day, and they are passing it on, and trying to give the best to their children. It comes to parents, it comes to your school authorities, colleges, everywhere. They have an authority because of a reason, because they have had so many more years
Of
on earth
seeing things
than
and
you.
knowing things.
Yeah, and they've
Right.
experienced more than you. So maybe, just maybe, uh, they can be a little outdated. But you can always go and tell them, hey, there's a cooler way of doing it, but don't rebel.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
really like about what Stephen Furtick does, and what Michael Todd, these are pastors, and that we spoke about also, that
yeah,
how they make things cool, and not purely religious, but yeah, really connecting it with the general problems of the masses.
yeah,
So do you think that typically today the youngsters who are growing up and they're becoming having a faith angle, they're more about propaganda and their agenda in their religion rather than actually wanting the good for people? Now that there are two extremes again. There are only social impact talkers who are just kind of giving out information, not even content, proper knowledge, but just
yeah,
information, as in repeating what everybody is repeating. Or there is the other type which goes into extremism of making everybody hot blooded and going against something or the other. And
yeah,
instead of bringing sense back into the world with knowledge, with wisdom, and with beauty into the understanding people and their real problems rather than
yeah.
acting the authority. So do
Mm.
you think that why, so what is your understanding of the reason for the lack of this approach of faith in lives of people? Why are people today becoming so success oriented, and that's why they'll do anything to get into the cutthroat competition, beat anyone, kill anyone, say anything to anyone, humiliate anyone, and just get that what they deserve, so that they think they deserve? So why do you think that that level of competence and wrong competence has come into people?
Like, for example, Pastor Stephen Furtick, everybody, like, there are two perspectives people have about uh, anyone who's on the top. Like, for example, even I follow Pastor Stephen Furtick, and as much as I think how cool he is, how cool his setup is, all these kind of things, I think you need to also put in some of your research into what they did before that. It has taken them,
Some time and
like,
effort. Huh.
yeah, I remember a very, I think it was a documentary, I'm not too sure, but he said, I remember the staff of my church were more than the members of my congregation, and by that I meant I had 6 staff and just one person in the congregation. Okay, and now his church has doubled to so many,
I
because
know,
of
and people
so
watch him
many.
live.
Yes, and you can stay at home and watch him and stuff like that. So it has gone from 6 people to probably 6 million. I'm not even sure. You can't count those numbers. So I think what is happening right now is because we have technology, because we have all these kind of things coming into the hands of really young people, I just feel like they are able to see the success oriented people so high, and maybe those successful people, they dress up in a way which makes them look younger. So maybe these people are not able to understand that okay, they are
Experience in
old.
yours. Ha,
Yeah, they
ha,
are
ha.
actually
Yes.
experienced. That's the right
Yeah.
word. But all that time has gone into becoming and shaping up into that person. Like
Right.
for example,
Hmm.
I don't understand the term, or like when we were growing up, people would ask, "What do you want to become?" And you'd be like, "Doctor, engineer, or officer, this, that, something." Then we have gone through the age where people are now saying, "I want to become a YouTuber, a TikToker, an Instagrammer,"
Oh.
and then the next level is, "I want to become an influencer." So that is where those people who say that I want to become an influencer and they just self magnify themselves,
Hmm.
uh, they have never put in that hard work. They have put in hard work where into getting the best quality of the camera from their parents.
Ah,
Okay,
yes.
they have taken the best
Absolutely.
mics. They have taken words from here and there and clubbed it in. But
Yes. I know what
yeah,
you
like
mean.
like if for example somebody is out there say talking about a certain topic, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
He or she has so many years, 20 number of years or x number of years of experience, because of which someone is actually on that panel and speaking about it. Whereas
Hmm.
today's influencers think that, hey, if I'm 20 and I'm on that stage, I'm the coolest person. But I have seen people 20-year-olds who have been given that opportunity, and when they prepare all that big speeches with the best words they can find from the dictionaries, they deliver it, okay, and then the Q&A starts, and then
Out. Out.
yeah,
Totally. Yes.
yeah, because you don't have content, you have never done that. You can't be a manager unless you have been doing all
Right.
the
Right.
you go level by level. So
Right.
even if somebody asks me now about, say for example, my favorite instrument is the ukulele, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
1 minute.
and
That's the one that you used for the cafe, like workshops and sessions that you
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I remember the picture now. Yes. Huh.
yes. And so I openly challenge people saying that in a matter of just 1 minute.
That's
So
okay. Hmm.
so in a matter of say 20 minutes, I can make you play 2 songs. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that with so much confidence because I played the ukulele for 8 years, and so many times of you know it's put in. I've put in so much of effort into learning that instrument in such a way that I can guarantee that, hey, listen, sit there with your ukulele, I'll teach you, and by the end of 20 minutes you can play 2 songs. But for example, I also know a couple of musician friends who have just started playing an instrument, and they are like, okay, I know like 6 chords, I can play stuff, so I'm going to start teaching. So I'm like, no, that is where you're missing out. Like, where is your years of experience?
Right.
You can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is what is happening with this new age people of calling themselves as influencers. You can't be an influencer unless and until you've been doing it for a long time. And I completely disagree with that. But more than sitting here and talking about them, or say bitching about them, I would say everybody will see their own fall and probably they will realize. I'm sure.
And
I'm
then
sure
it's
you can
too
say that.
late. Yeah,
It's
so
too late.
I do understand that, because Gladson, I've seen this, when I go up and speak, people typically, sometimes in the beginning, I remember people used to expect a script out of me. And
Yeah.
that was the time I said, you know what, I am not a script person. You can't put me into books and say this is what you're going to say and this is how it's going to be, because that's like you're
Right.
bribing my content and bribing me to say what you want. Whereas
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm there for the people who are going to be listening to me in the language that they feel. There are some elderly people at times. You don't know who your audience is going to be. And if you do not
Absolutely.
customize content, you
Yeah.
are never going to connect with people. And it's not about the stage, it's about the soil which you've seen and you've gone through. And that
Absolutely.
gives you, so you're right when you said about the Q&A part. It's like you are totally the hero and the expert when you just have to talk. But the
Yeah.
moment it gets into the finer aspects of things and kind of making it big into a conversation, conversing at
Yeah.
a depth, people fall because they don't
Absolutely.
know what's behind, what's in front, what's on the sides.
Yeah.
So totally, I'm very interested to know, because I'm someone who kind of developed my own different multiple intelligences. So I was only good at one or two things, and then I felt that I could develop my intelligence and creativity, or depth into other domains like logic and all of that. But with you, it's a different story altogether, because if as an educator, or a someone who's studying social development, if I had to understand and interpret your brain, I am kind of a little lost. Not totally, but yeah, a little lost in understanding that you did not specialize in like 5 6 different things. You got into music and you brought 14 13 14 things. How many instruments is it, by the way? Just checking with
Yeah.
you.
It's 14.
Oh, I thought it increased again to 2. You never know what you can do. So
Perhaps next year we will.
see, I already predicted it before. So so I'm just, that's what I'm saying, like you put 14 things together in
Yeah.
your head. And so is it about, what I want to understand is it about tuning it and getting it right for each of the 14? Did you learn each of the 14 things, instruments, separately? They must be so different from each other, because I've seen you play, like one thing is like a drum and the other thing is like a guitar and the third thing is, all look different, also all have different ways to play and different tones and
Yeah.
music that comes out. So did you learn each of them separately and you put it together, or
Yes.
how did your brain work in that case?
So, like I said, this is something which has come far after I actually learned music, right?
Yes.
So, like for example, I did learn how to play the drum kit, so I know how to play the drums. I did learn how to play the keyboard, so I can play the keyboard separately, the piano separately, the guitar separately. All of
Mm-hmm.
these instruments, of course, I can play them separately, because of which now that I know how this function, how this function, how this function, how this functions, probably my brain would be like, okay, put them together. Let's check. Like for example, the first time I tried playing multiple instruments was
Mm-hmm.
so I was in my first year BA,
Okay.
and my English professor, she had given an assignment
Mm-hmm.
saying that okay, everybody will either sing a Bob Dylan song or recite a poem. I don't remember the name of the poet. And because I was into music, everybody expected that, oh, Gladson will sing a song by Bob Dylan. Until the last day, uh, the the day before the assignment. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah.
So till the day before the assignment, I had not given my song. Okay,
Okay.
and that's when my professor was like, Gladson, what's wrong with you? I was like, maybe ma'am, I will do a poem for a change. I wanted to try something else. She was like, what is it? I was like, you're giving everybody Bob Dylan, so it's like it's already out there. I don't want to do something which everybody does, so that's why I was like, okay, I can't choose from anything apart from these two, so let me do something I have not done. But then she was like, no, I want you to play music. Is if it's about the artist, go and look up for a song from Billy Joel. Okay. Now that evening, I went up, I, I searched for Billy Joel on the YouTube, and I found his song called The Piano Man,
Okay.
where Billy Joel plays the piano, he
Mm-hmm.
sings his song, plus he
Mm-hmm.
has a harmonica with a
Okay.
stand. That's the first time I'm seeing anybody in real life कि यार दो इंस्ट्रूमेंट बजा रहा है. I was like mind blown. I was like, this is that very thing which I have to do. So I was like, I can't take a piano, so I'm going to take a guitar. And I went and bought a harmonica plus a stand. And I already used to play harmonica and already knew how to play guitar. I was like, okay, let's put them together. If he can do it, even I can do it. So yeah, that's how I started. Then after that, my mind was like, oh, he is anyway just playing two instruments. What if we try something more? And then I took my brother's compass box. I just, used my feet, just held it like that, used it like a drum, to tap with my
Hmm.
feet. And then I
Okay.
took a tambourine. I used my other feet, the toes and everything. I just held it.
Mm-hmm.
So my legs were busy. My hand was strumming the ukulele or the guitar. Plus my mouth was playing the harmonica. So my brain could sort of start to understand that, yeah, these things are possible. So yes, I had to learn all these instruments separately. And if
And different
somebody,
combinations also, I think, from what I
yes,
understand, that you did a
yes,
lot of trial and experimentation to make
yes,
2 3 2 3 work, and then
yes,
one, I mean, that gave you more ideas of how to make your brain work further.
yes,
Brain programming.
you
Wow.
can't get anything easy in life. If it's something
Mm,
very good, you can never get it easy. And
I get
you
that.
have to go through all of that to sort of become something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I mean, I've seen this in movies alone, and I've never really seen it in person, that a person has
Okay.
to tune an instrument, right?
Yeah.
That's like the word which people use. And tuning an instrument, gave me an idea that how do you, as someone who's into music to such depth, with such philosophy, and with such a core impact angle into your own life and others, how do you see tuning an instrument? I mean, whatever lessons you've learned while doing that, or what it takes to tune an instrument, as compared to tuning an individual, and getting your life in tune. So how do you, and also then, so let's take one at a time. So how do you kind of see the tuning of the instrument with the tuning of an individual's mind, how the mind works? Do you see a
Um,
comparison?
Absolutely. It's always linked. If you do not tune your instrument, it'll sound horrible. If you do not tune your life, same.
Yeah, so when you, so like, can you give me an example, like if you kind of take one instrument and you tune it, what
Yeah.
are the nitty-gritties required to be kept in mind, and then how does that apply to a life and the person's brain?
Like for example, let's take for example a simple guitar itself. Okay,
Okay.
the most common one of all. Now, you know everybody understands that there are six strings. Okay, and the
Mm-hmm.
six strings are not, it's not a part of the body of the guitar. The body is just the wooden part. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you have to attach, and then they will be loose. And you can't just tune it just like that. You have to tune it to a
Mm.
certain frequency. Okay, like for
Okay.
example, yeah, there are some vibrations and frequencies which are very technical. But
Okay.
if you do
Mm-hmm.
not tune it to that, your string, your instrument will not sound the way it is. Like for example, the same thing, I think, if I have to just put it to life also, if you do not uh, like for example, if you really do not understand what 4 plus 4 is, if 4 plus 4 is not 8, and if you say it is 7, then obviously you're not tuned, your tuning over here is not right. You have
Right.
to go get 4 plus 4 8.
So I want to ask a question here. I think what you're aiming and talking about is that, one, the intention and the action alignment is one, what you could be hinting at, that that
Absolutely.
has to align, and that frequency has to kind of come in slowly, at least, by that
Yeah.
effort, and then the
Yes.
sound gets better. I think the
Correct.
other thing you're talking of is the effort. We all dream big and think big, but our efforts are too small. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, at some point you have to surrender to God and let him take over things, but then before that comes a lot of consistent effort of not giving up. So I think
Absolutely.
that is what we give up on if things don't
Correct.
work out or the sound doesn't come perfect. and
Correct.
and so what would you say about then, like, so when you play so many instruments together,
Hmm.
how do you see that in comparison to the life of a person, like, how much of effort that takes and the thought that you put behind to make each of them work right? How do you see the lessons learned from that into the lessons that one can learn about, how the different faculties of the body works. There's a spiritual side, there's a mental side, there's a social side. So many things come together, emotional,
Yeah.
intelligence. So how do you see that working in harmony, or sometimes even going offbeat? So how do you bring it together?
So, see, there's this one parable in the Bible, all right,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorite parables. It's where the master gives 5 talents to one person, 3 talents to another, 2 talents to another, and 1 talent to another. Okay, so there
Five,
are,
two, and one, right?
yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay, and the person who gets the 5, he goes and he sells it. He gets 10. Okay, the person who has 2 sells it. He does trade whatever, and he gets 4. And the person who got just 1 talent, he was like, I'm going to keep this very safely. So he went and buried it underground, right? And he got nothing out of it. And when they came back, and when the master asked, what did you do out of that? The master rewarded the person who did his trade and he got back 10. He also rewarded the person who took the 2 and made it 4. But he condemned the person who um, didn't do anything with that 1. So same goes with what we have in life. Uh, if with what we have we do not use it, like for example, I can clearly see um, if I had not put in effort to learn so many instruments, I'm pretty sure God wouldn't have rewarded me uh, with a gift of being able to play them all together. For
Hmm.
example, if say someone has something in life, if they do not make use of it, then it's going to be waste. So if the same goes with, like for example, coming back to the tuning section, if
Hmm.
you do not tune it, if you tune it less, right, it will sound horrible. It has to be on point. Okay, so the work you do, it should not be less, it has to be on point. But if you say, oh, I'm going to do it better, so if you overtune it, if you turn it more, right, the string will break.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
even if you do your work more than what it's supposed to be,
Wow.
you're just breaking it. So
Burnout. Yes.
yeah, you can't let your string break, nor let your string be undertuned. So I think to get to that perfection, to get to that one thin line, you have to put in that effort. And I don't see people putting in that effort in today's age,
I know
unfortunately.
what you mean.
Yeah,
So when you say, I want to kind of understand the last, like, as a concluding part as well. When you said one man band,
yeah,
like it sounds like one woman army, one man army, stuff like that. So did it kind of, so let's say, if I was again, when I was looking at you from a social development expert perspective, if I was a judgmental, like, expert, I would be like, hey, you know what, this man is not a very good person. He likes to do everything by himself. This person does
true,
not know teamwork. This person has no concept of collaboration. What kind of
true,
a person is this? But at the same time, if I was a non-judgmental person, I would be like, you know what, this person is capable of, being self-sufficient, at the same time in ways bring joy to the people and happiness. And even if nobody else can play all those instruments, he's kind of taking it all on himself to play it all and bring all the melody and music to everybody's life.
true.
So how do you, like, what made you, so this is the term which the world has coined for you, or is it the, like, thing that you always felt that, you wanted to kind of highlight? I'm very curious to know about this concept of one man band that you're known for.
When I was doing my research after I got this dream and this idea, we
Mm-hmm.
started to research. Me and my brother, we started to research on the internet, and the closest words that got to my head was like multi instrumentalists, or people playing multiple instruments. And
Okay.
of course, I will not say that I put it on myself just because I wanted to or something like. It is. It's not like people haven't done it. People have been doing something called as a one man band from the 1800s. It's just that we were not aware of it. So it's obviously new to us. And when we kind of came across that thing, they called themselves as a one man band. I was like, uh, yeah, now
That's me.
that's me. Yeah,
Wow, amazing. So, Gladson, like one of the things that I thought about again is Gladson. Who named you? Like, who's the person who named you?
Both my mom and dad, they were very glad to have a son, so just Gladson.
Okay, and you like to make people glad also through the music, because I saw
Absolutely.
that one video on Instagram that you had posted, I believe, quite long back, where you
Uh-huh.
were playing and there was some country in East Asia that you were kind of playing on the streets, and there was a little child who was so careless and
Oh
not
yeah,
thinking anything, started
in China.
dancing, and yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I remember that little child and the joy of that child was like I mean, I cannot express that what that child
Very
was
pure.
going through.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you do bring joy to people. And don't you
absolutely.
get tired when you have so much on you? So, how do you manage that weight? It must be a lot of weight to kind of carry it.
I do get tired. It's not like I don't. And people fail to see that part. People fail to see that as much as I'm doing all of this, yes, I am paying for it by, let's say, let's put it in a very different perspective. All these things are rosy things which we spoke about, all right?
Absolutely, yes.
Nobody speaks about the wear and tear that my body has to go through for doing an excessive amount of certain work. Like, for example, every time I'm walking, I'm not just walking because I have to make a particular drum work. So I sort of
Hmm.
kick in hard, all right?
Hmm.
The
I saw
first
that you
times,
pull it hard so that that string
yes,
kind of, I've seen that push. Yeah.
correct.
Hmm.
Like, they would be like, हाँ, अगर उसने ऐसा मारा तो वो sound बजेगा, right? But uh, people don't realize that when I hit that, right, that bone is getting a certain jerk. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, there's that wear and tear happening.
Hmm.
When I'm carrying all those things, yes, my back hurts really bad. Like, I get ready like just 10 minutes before the show because if I stay up longer, it is
Ah,
difficult. So these are things which people don't speak about. All the effort that you put into
absolutely.
making that joyous moment. Of course, when you're inside the song, when you're in the song, in the middle of the song, and you see people clapping, dancing, like you said, those kids, they have no idea. For them, it is the first time they would have even be they would be seeing something like this. They're not going to judge you. "Hey, ये guitar बजाता है, ये सब लेके बजाते हैं." They're not going to judge you. Like, for them, it's like, "Are good music. He's also dancing. We'll also dance." So to see that energy and that joyous thing, right? That is
Hmm.
when you sort of forget all of the pain that you actually have. But yeah, you can't really completely forget about it after the show. You're like,
Have your struggles and pains. So,
yeah,
Gladson, how do you balance that out? Because I'm sure, like looking at earlier, you said, there were health issues which, I mean, prevented you from playing music. And then it, of course, I understand because I saw it in, I mean, person when you were carrying all that instrument in the TEDx and being a speaker, you went up and then you came back, unloaded all that, and you came back. So, do you take breaks in a day and just minimize yourself? Why I'm asking you this is because a lot of times we see so many ambitious young people or old people or anybody who kind of wants to do a lot. They'll go to an extent to kill their health in the name of passion and all of that, but they forget that there is a way to pursue your dreams, your calling.
yes,
And it could be tough, but there has to be a mechanism and a
yes,
system to kind of bring in that sanity back or bring in that health factor back into normality. So how do
absolutely.
you do that? Like, how do you frame it in a week, in a day, in a month? And then if you're internationally traveling, then I mean, balancing it with less local stuff. How do you plan your month and your week and days?
Honestly, it's not like a job which I can plan. Like, for example, when I was away in China, I was doing 4 shows every day for 5 days a week, and without that one day of break, oh, I just cannot do it. But of course, it's not the same over here. I do just one show a day, or like say maximum or of two, and it's not like I'm performing for 25 to 30 days uh, in the month. So I get to sort of take my time off. Plus, as a musician, it's not just about the one man band, but I also like to take my time off of music. So there are other things which I do, like, for example, uh, I learned a new skill of editing videos where I put out my blogs. This is something
Cool.
apart from
Yeah.
music. It's, so
Absolutely.
yes,
Learning to do your
someone,
stuff yourself, at the same time get your
yes,
work done and have your mind into something else and
and
the work
babe,
taken
yeah,
care of. Yeah. That's
yes,
how I
yeah,
think also. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
You need a break if you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, absolutely.
So you should not dare off yourself. Like I said, like coming back to the tuning, if you just keep tuning it over and over again, you'll just break off. So
So you pointed out something called strategy here, that your work is important, your life's calling is important, you can't forget it, but you need a break. And because you're a mindful person, you're constantly thinking about how to get it better. At the same time, get your checklist done instead of kind of assigning it to somebody else who in
yeah,
the beginning kind of struggles to actually get it how you would like it to be impactfully done. So you
right,
found a technical skill to kind of engage in, to learn, and to kind of get one of your work done, as well as stay engaged with your profession from a distance and be happy
yeah,
that okay, I'm not
yeah,
singing but I'm uploading stuff about it.
yes, yes.
So that's a
That
strategy.
Yeah, that strategy is, like, for example, now when we are all taking our time off, right?
Mm-hmm.
My strategy currently is, during the day when there is light, I record all my videos, and during the evenings when there is no light, I sit and edit them. And because it's not like in one day you're just doing one video. Like, it's like you can do like 3 videos, which means that even if you want to take a weekend off, you still have content. Your strategy is basically, you still have content ki wo jayega, video jayega. And luckily we are in a generation where we don't have to sit and wait. Array, at 9:30 it will go from, like 9 o'clock you have to sit at the computer. It's not like that. Like, YouTube is cool, Instagram is cool. You can just schedule your posts. Like, my next week's posts are already scheduled. So even if I don't do anything next week, right, my
Mm.
content is still gonna go up. I will sleep at 9:45, but I know at 9:45 my video will be out and my people will be watching.
Wow. This
Yeah,
reminds me of another question. Sorry, I'm extending the concluding remark to another
it's fine.
question. Because you, like, now this is something usually we speak of in the life coaching segment or the education or the business parts, of life,
Mm-hmm.
or domains and sectors, where we say innovation and original thinking and uh, original content. But to me, it seems like, because your stuff, from different experimentation and combination, you are an original in the sense of how you play music, how you think of music, how you deliver it, how you produce it, and how you edit it in various ways. So I mean, I'm very interested to learn, how do you understand the word original thinker, original content maker, original, like, at what you do. So what is your understanding of the word original, and how do you separate that, and I mean, filter it from the fake things that are happening in the world and they are being called original by some people? So how do you see that?
Like, for example, when we say, for example, person X writes a song
Mm-hmm.
and says it's an original,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I can fight and let anybody know that that original cannot be something which is absolutely fresh. Even if I have written something, it can never be absolutely fresh, because our brain draws inspiration and something from someone else's work. So it's not like, I wouldn't even call it fake, but your original content always is inspired work from another work, you know. So, but for me, calling something original is like, I would say, if everybody is doing one thing, if I don't do that and I just do completely different, something different, then for me that is kind of original. Like, if everybody is taking a walk, then I'll be like, okay, I'll take a cycle and go. So,
So I
hmm,
think what you're trying to say is the purpose is still the same, the delivery is different, the
different.
execution is different. So
Yeah,
I think that is what exactly I feel. If I had to
yeah,
phrase it, I would say that it's not about the product, it's the process which is different, which brings the innovation. It's the
true,
methodology, because on the
true.
top it may all look the same and it may all
Same.
appear the same or sound the same. But a
Yes,
person who puts more deep thought and figures out, oh, this is the delivery style, oh, this is how this
correct,
person is executing. So I
correct,
think that's where the innovation lies in any
true.
field. I mean, the
Yeah,
way you execute it, and that starts with the thought process. Like, how did you figure it out, and what was your angle of bringing impact and change into the system through that thing that you figured out.
Absolutely. Like for example, there are brands now which
Mm-hmm.
say, like for example, sorry, if we take clothing brands, we all know that you require certain materials.
Mm.
Now there are these new brands which say that they have they also bring out clothing. The product is the same,
Right.
but they take their resources out of things which do not harm animals or do not harm certain things, and they call it their original. Like you said, the product is the same, but the way they do it is completely different. The mass majority people are just taking the same route, but these people are like, okay, no, we are going vegan, we're going a different route, and then we are creating the same cloth. Just an example.
Hmm. So here actually now we are talking of two different things. So you have brought out but an important point where at times we are talking of one example where a leader or a mentor has trained someone and therefore the influence has come, but this mentee has kind of picked up skills of their own and then added their own touch to things and made it
Correct.
original. And there's an
Correct.
other one, so that looks to the world as, I mean, copycat or whatever,
Yeah.
and but it may be original because it's like it stemmed from somewhere but it took its own
Yes.
path after a very soon after what that leader or the mentor kind of instilled. And then
Yes.
so this is what happens with great leadership that I have personally seen in people. And then second type is where these people who want fake followers that go for Instagram fake followers and they say, oh, you know what, I've got 20,000 followers. Oh,
Yeah.
because today followers can be bought just like
Yes.
corruption can be bought. And I mean,
Correct.
like your support can be bought from people. You can
Correct.
buy support. So similarly fake followers are bought. So I
Yeah.
think these are people who come across as people who've taken X, Y, Z and then they're throwing
Yes.
out content. I think it's all in the vibes, don't you think, Gladson? When a
It
person
is.
speaks, you
Yeah.
can make out what's the original and what's the fake and what is the authentic right from the core and what's
Absolutely.
like giving out undoubt, like some doubted vibes about the
Yes.
person.
Yes.
So have you ever, like, so how do you choose friends? Like when you said that when it comes to friends, do you choose people who kind of always, or do you work with people who always give out the right vibes, or are you okay at times working in collaboration with people who are not giving out the right vibes?
Um, I like good vibes. Like I can't deny. It's never. I've never vibed bad with anybody as such. But I choose to be closer with people who vibe more genuine
Right,
in themselves.
authentic
Like,
and
yeah,
genuine, yes.
yeah. If they're kind of genuine with themselves, that's more than enough. I mean, that's more than enough. If they can take care of themselves, I'm pretty sure that they will be able to accommodate another friendship into theirs. That's enough to deal
How
with.
nice.
Yeah,
How nice. Thank you so much, Gladson. I'm so glad to be
pleasure.
talking to you and to kind of
Same.
learn so many things from you. And I hope you're coming to Calcutta soon to kind of charm the Kolkata crowd about. But that'll not be too soon because things are still unpredictable and we leave
Yeah.
it to God to figure out how
Yes.
things will shape up. So, how are you
Absolutely.
spending your time? I'm sure, like, music, as you said. So what
Yeah.
are your concluding, suggestions to young people based on, what we just shared? Maybe one or two comments on, I mean, how you would like them to go forward with whatever you've learned in life and whatever we've conversed about.
I would say, as someone who knows you, I kind of see a lot of people who are commenting on your posts are people who are very ambitious in life. They are not the people who are just Vela, but they are still watching. But to all those people who are especially very ambitious and want to do so many different things, and very much as they are following you and all your posts, they should understand that this is that time they should make use of. Like for example, I have a very good friend who's an excellent musician. He plays with the Who's Who, and he put up the status saying, musicians, if by the end of 21 days, better if you aren't a better musician, I'm going to unfriend you. you know so my point is that this time when you have, I think it's best to make sort of use and uh, get better at what you're doing. And this is probably that one time you will get. I'm pretty sure things are going to go out of proportion as soon as things get all right, because everybody's waiting to get back on work and it's going to blow up. So before that happens, just be prepared, prepare yourself, and this is that time.
Great.
I'm doing the same thing. Like
Yeah, preparation time, that's what even I feel this is, the
yeah,
preparation time to get back into good shape from now, so that when things get normal, it's not like you're still waiting, oh, I spent all these days just sleeping and Netflixing and all that. So I think preparation time is what we
like
should look at.
like they say, you can either have results or you will have regrets. You can't have both.
Hmm.
It's
Let's
just that.
aim and hope for results and no regrets for ourselves,
Yeah,
or that we've made our country feel, humiliated because of
absolutely.
our actions in small and big ways. Thanks a lot,
Absolutely.
Gladson. So glad to speak to
Pleasure.
you, and
Thank you.
God bless, brother. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Yeah, good night.